Welcome to Solomon Secrets, episode number 5. So, some exciting thoughts this morning. Security in wisdom. Now, think about that: security in wisdom. What a great concept, right? So let's unpack a little bit of what Solomon Secrets has to say about what he means by having security and wisdom, and it's super interesting. When we peel off some layers here in regards to the few thoughts that we'll be looking at this today, and it's because Solomon, who is and was the wisest man who ever lived, he said, "Hear, my children, the instructions of a father." Now you got to think about this. So he is recommending and making a call out and say, "Hey, listen to authority, listen to your father," right? And he says, "Give attention to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law." And here's where it becomes interesting. So he is given that advice, right? But when you listen, so where did he get it for? Because here's where it's a great parenting lesson, really, hidden inside of this little passage, because it says, when I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me. So here's where I want to unpackage that, because it's, a lot of times we've thought about, and I know I have, where it talks about where Solomon, when he was asked, "Hey, what do you want?" The good Lord was asking him, and he says, could have had anything, but he requested, "Give me wisdom, give me insight," right? But when you think about it, what had he grown up hearing from his father David? Because it says it right here: "When I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother." So that tells me that when he was a little boy, guess what the kind of communication that was given to him, right? Guess what he was told by his father, right? Listen to wisdom, pay attention, hear the words. Really, it was being given to him from a young age. It says he also taught me and said to me, "Let your heart retain my words, keep my commands, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she'll preserve you. Love her, and she'll keep you." So I find that so interesting, because so he's basically given the example in what he learned when he was growing up. He was taught, he was told by his father, just really pay attention, listen to the words, seek the knowledge, seek the wisdom, and hear the words that I speak. So guess what? The way I kind of start thinking about that. So when he was asked by the good Lord, "What do you want?" Right? It became probably subconsciously, immediately what came to mind for King Solomon, wisest man who ever lived, was like, my dad taught me these things from I was a little bitty boy. When he said, "When I was tender and the only one in the sight of my mother," when I was my father's son, these were the things that he grew up learning. These were some of the principles that he was, that he was really had grown accustomed to hearing. How important, how crucial it was for him to acquire and seek and look for wisdom. And he had heard, get wisdom, get understanding. That was really, I'm sure, was pounded into him, really, right? It was encouraged, it was taught. He grew up hearing it. He saw an example in his dad, probably, where David singing the Psalms, right? Seeking, giving praise, glorifying the good Lord. And that's something that he grew up watching. That's something that he grew up paying attention to and was actually able to understand. And so when he is so that's really the charge that he says, because he starts out, hear my children, the instructions of the father. He had an example. Really pay attention. So as a father to my own children, I'm thinking, what do I impart into their lives? Am I sowing seeds of wisdom that they start looking and seeking wisdom, right? And it says, if you do not forsake her and she'll preserve you. Love her and she'll keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Exalt her and she'll promote you, right? Wisdom will lift you up. Wisdom will gain and gave you a seat before kings, like we talked about the other day, right? And that's something that wisdom will do. She'll bring you honor when you embrace her. She'll place you on your head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory she'll deliver to you. What a promise, man. And then it goes on and says, hear my son and receive my sayings. And the years of your life will be many. So there's another promise, another Solomon secret. If you exalt and seek wisdom, you'll have years of life. There'll be many. I've taught you in the way of wisdom. I've led you in the right paths. When you walk, so get this one. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered. And when you run, you will not stumble. So I'm thinking to myself, what great wisdom and advice to teach my own children if I want to teach them how to walk and not be hindered. If I want them to succeed, if I want them to have a path of abundance, then I need to teach them the principles and the wisdom. I need to teach them to get understanding, knowledge, insight, get wisdom. It's the principal thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. And it does say a little bit later on in the Solomon Secrets, it says that if you, where it says, when you walk, your steps will not be hindered. And when you run, you will not stumble. Later on, it says, when you roam, they will lead you. And when you sleep, they will keep you. And when you awake, you'll speak. They'll speak with you. Interesting, isn't it? Super interesting. So really, the takeaway today for me, and that I wanted to share, kind of is, where does the security and wisdom come from? Is when you pay attention, so the lesson from a parenting lesson, number one, teach these fundamentals, teach these principles early on, like Solomon said, for when I was my father's son, and when I was tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he taught me. He taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words. And that's so the parenting lesson there is, do I take time to impart the Solomon secrets, to impart the wisdoms that are found inside of this phenomenal book? And if you can ask you if that is truly true, that wisdom is the principal thing, then it is certainly wise to pass that on. And the lessons for children, I would say, is you got to pay attention, respect your parents, respect your elders, respect the ones that are put in authority of you, and because the promise is great. The promise, you'll walk and your steps will not be hindered. And when you run, you'll not stumble. When you're going full out, and here's the business principle of it. So we've seen a parenting principle, but there's also a business principle, right? When you proceed, when you're busy, when you're really pushing hard going forward, if you have paid attention and sought wisdom and sought getting understanding, the promise is that your steps will not be hindered. The path will be set for you. You can go out with confidence. You can be bold as a lion, as the Solomon Secret says later on. And those are great promises. So some thoughts on security and wisdom. I hope you're well. Hope this you gain some insights, some benefits, and learning from the greatest, wisest man who ever lived, Solomon's Secrets. So with that, have a great afternoon and or evening or morning, depending on when you're listening to it. So excited that you're following along and honored that you're here with us. So we'll be talking real soon. See you guys.